We may live over 5,000 miles from Lincoln Financial Field, but what we lack in proximity we make up for in film study, and each and every week we will be bringing you in-depth film breakdowns from across the pond and the Sooner State. Welcome to On the Shane page. I am your host, Shane Haff. You can follow me on Twitter at ShaneHaffNFL, and I am joined, as always, by BGN's own film guru, Jonny Page. Give him a follow on Twitter at JohnnyPage9. Jonny, how are you doing this evening?
I'm good. Year 3, Shane. Year 3 doing this. Krabby's in the chat already. Look at that speed. Yeah, I'm good. We were trying to think. So we started on BGM radio. Then obviously that shut down. We did something last year, first year doing our own thing independent. Now I feel like we know what we're doing. Except for the fact we've got a brand new system, which we're hoping still works. But except for that, it's like, yeah, same old, same old. It's good. Feels nice to actually have a bit of consistency. And also not have to make up stuff to talk about. And actually just talk about the game we just watched. So yeah, except for me dealing with another heat wave. If you've not been following the off-season show, it's been a bit of a joke. The British heat waves that compared to where Shane lives just aren't heat waves. But we are actually going through a hot day again today. So hence the sleeveless Arsenal top. Hence the windows open next to me. So if you hear any wonderful noise, that is why. But yeah, man, it's a good time. Sports are back. Arsenal start next week. The Eagles start in a few weeks. I got tickets to the first Arsenal game, so I'm off to the Emirates. No, sorry, not the first one, the second one. First home game. So I'm off to the Emirates in 2 weeks. This is the time that it feels like sports are back. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting everything ready, really. I'm ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, we actually had a cool front come through yesterday. And so we're the coolest we've been in a long time, and it's still hotter than what Johnny's dealing with. But yeah, we've played that. Maybe we've played that joke out already. I won't give Jonny too hard of a time.
It's hot where I am, man. That's all I'm going to say.
But we are going to dive into our preseason film review. And some of you guys may be first time finding the show. Maybe you found us in the off season and you're not sure, what these are going to look like. But this is going to be probably more abbreviated. We say that a lot, FYI. But yeah, probably more abbreviated than regular season. But we typically each watch the film independently and bring 3 points on the offensive side of the ball and 3 points on the defensive side of the ball. And they can be like super laser focused on like one play. It can be more granular on a bunch of plays. But regardless, we'll always have our film clips up on Twitter. So Jonny has his threads. I tweet all the plays independently, but I go back and I tweet a thread specifically for this show. And so if you are an audio platform listener, Jonny will call out play numbers, I'll call out clips. And so maybe you pull those up on your phone and watch along while we're talking if you're listening on podcasting forums. But regardless, you don't have to watch the video cast. You might find it a little easier, but you'll get a feel for it as we go along. Got a comment here from Yakko saying, we are so back. We are so back, yeah, man. Football is here, and we're pretty excited about it. Before we dive in, though, maybe we should talk just a little bit about what preseason actually means and what we kind of look for in the preseason. So, Jonny, I'll throw it over to you first. What is different about preseason when it comes to watching the games versus regular season?
Everything. It sucks, and I hate it, and I have to write about it and watch it and do a show with you, Shane, and I hate it all. No,
that's good to know. I'm glad that you hate doing this show.
I look for individuals, basically. There's no schematic stuff. I mean, if you've read what coaches say in the past, they don't game plan. They don't go in really like looking at the opposition and trying to. They might do a little bit of brief, like I'm sure they do a bit of player analysis, but I don't think they're going in trying things. I always think it's a weird one because, like, this week's really weird actually because I always say that coaches will never call something they never would in a game. So, for example, the Eagles ran some under center outside zone this week. Now, you can't just randomly call that. You have to rep that in the off-season. So the Eagles are going to run some under center outside zone this year, guys, because you don't just suddenly call it for the first time all summer. But then Fangio called a cover zero blitz against Jamar Chase with no plan for a very simple pre-snap shift. So I'm like, maybe they do sometimes call things that they'll never call in the regular season. But still, that zero blitz must be somewhere in Fangio's playbook. I don't think he'd ever called it, basically, ever. So I look for individuals. I think, obviously, individuals can stand out. The one thing you've got to just say is that they're playing against some bad opposition sometimes. And some teams, for first team aren't very good, and their second team's even worse. The Eagles are pretty talented, so I think we're quite lucky in that sense that it matters a little bit more. But like when you're going up against like some of these teams' second and third offensive linemen, you're going to have some defensive line that just look really good, and it's just not reflective of how they're actually going to play. So it's really tough. I look for very basic scheme stuff, but like very basic. Like, oh right, they're running some underset or outside zone. They're probably going to run some of that this year. And then I look at individuals basically. But you have to realise that sometimes they're being asked to do things that they won't, and sometimes they're also going against really, really, really poor players as well. So it's tough. But yeah, I think you can learn things, but I think you have to be honest with yourself and say that there's only so much you can really take away from it.
Yeah, and the biggest one I want to push back on is like I saw people on Twitter being like Kevin Patullo was in his bag in this one and saying he called a great game, and it's like, I mean, they called like outside zone, inside zone, counter, mesh, and crash. Like
crash, yeah.
It's the most basic thing ever. And so, like, yeah, I mean, like, I guess you could look really bad as a play caller in a preseason game, but I don't think you can actually look good as one. So he was fine, but there's really nothing schematically to take away from it other than that. But with all of that said, Jonny, should we dive into the offensive side or the defensive side of the ball first?
Let's start with offense, because I feel like people are going to want to talk McKee, and there's probably more to learn. You've already explained this, but just a quick roll through for anyone that's not entirely sure. We always just pick 3 points, because basically anyone that says they watch every single part of the All-22 every week is lying to you, because it's physically impossible, long story short. So I have to watch it all for BGN, you have to watch it all anyway, but we often like focus on specific things. We don't talk about it. Sometimes we focus on the same things. That's life. But it just helps a little bit, because it means that we don't, I mean, as I've said to you before, you cannot watch everyone. Anyone that tells you they think they know everything about a game is lying. You have to focus on things. Like someone commented today on my BGN article, like, how was Eli Ricks? And I was like, yeah, I think he was fine. I watched plays where he looked good, but I wasn't focusing on Eli Ricks. He wasn't the guy I was interested in this week. So, again, I'll go back and watch him if you want. But that wasn't, I'm not going to lie to you and say I know everything about every player. And anyone that ever says that about football is completely lying to you. So, should we start on offense, Shane?
Sure. Yeah, as I say, anybody that ever says that is completely qualified to write QB rankings for The Athletic or The Ringer or insert other organization here. But
they watch every snap of every player, and they know everything about all their weapons around them as well. So I'm amazed those guys ever sleep. They probably don't, because they're grinding film so hard, Shane.
Yeah.
Do you want to start us off?
Sure. Let's do it. I'll start us off, and I want to talk about quick game. And I didn't actually get as much pushback as I thought I would talking about quick game, but I wanted to focus on something that Tanner McKee is better at than Jalen Hurts, and it was quick game. And you could see it in this game. The Eagles were able to run quick game in a way that worked, and in a way they haven't been able to do with Jalen Hurts. And so Tanner McKee is really good at reading those things out and quickly processing post-snap and pulling the trigger. And you guys heard me moan about the quick game last year, and I don't think it was well designed, but I also just don't think it's Jalen Hurts' strength. And so if Jalen Hurts could add a little bit, not a lot, you don't want to be overly reliant on quick game. There's not explosive potential there, but it does keep defenses honest. But if he could do this a few times a game, it would be helpful. And so it happens to be one of McKee's strengths, I think. And so on the first play here, it's actually back-to-back plays to the tight end. I just pulled out 2 plays that I was going to talk about. But on this first play, what's going to happen is you get a rush here from the edge, and the linebacker is going to chase the running back to the flat. And you can tell pre-snap this safety is stepping down. Just look at his body language. So the safety is stepping down. That means he's either in man coverage on the tight end or he's in a zone coverage, like covering the seam here. Either way, McKee recognizes like immediately the tight end's going to be open and just puts the ball on him. And, it's a nice little 5, 6, 7 yard play to keep you in rhythm. And then they come back the very next play, if I can pause it before the snap, and they're going to run just another little quick game here. The tight end's just going to run out and turn around. And if you watch this one, you've got the outside cornerback here immediately drop steps to the sideline, so his butt's facing the sideline. He's worried about carrying this vertically for outbreaking routes. And so then you watch the linebacker, and he's immediately shuffling backwards at the snap. And McKee already knows this is going to be open. Little 6-yard gain, you'll take that. And so I thought one of the things that really stuck out to me is just how quickly McKee processes in quick game, and it opens up an area of the offense that the Eagles have traditionally not had under Hurts. So that was a nice thing to see. It's something I would like to see. If you talk about the next evolution of Hurts and targeting the middle of the field, that's something I would like to see added into his game just a little bit as he progresses throughout his career.
Yeah, I won't plug the Patreon every 10 seconds, but Shane does an All-22 look at the quarterback every week for the Patreon. So on the podcast, we sort of reference the quarterback, but we don't do a deep dive every single week. Otherwise, every week, half the podcast would just be talking about the QB. In saying that, my first point is basically going to be the QB. I haven't watched Shane's video. I deliberately don't. No offense, Shane. I don't like to before the season starts, before we did a pod. So I thought McKee was really good. I had a few minor things that I struggled with a little bit, and it's nothing against McKee. It's more about preseason in general. So I'll give you a very quick summary of some of the good and some of the bad, and some of the things that I think maybe we need to calm down. And I'm saying that just because I saw some videos online, he's a top 16 QB, he's top 25, and I was like, I'm big on longevity in this league. Do it for 2 seasons as a starter, and I'll buy you. There's just simply not been enough film. So first one I'll actually show you, Shane, is very similar to what you have just shown. Literally first play on my film thread, actually. The reason why I really like this is I think what McKee does really, really well, and if you pause it pre-snap, I think, first of all, he's not mobile, and he probably gets bored of people saying that, but when you're not mobile, you have to be better. Hurts can get away with being a little bit weak sometimes throughout his career, pre-snap, post-snap, because if you're that mobile, you can bail yourself out of bad calls. McKee can't, so he has to be good pre-snap. The other thing I want to mention, though, is just how easy a lot of the things he's reading in this game are. So one of my favourite phrases is that safeties lie, cornerbacks don't. If you look at that cornerback up against Jahan Dotson, this is as press man-y as you'll see press man. That guy's not sinking into a zone. They're not doing anything fancy here. They're going to end up in single high or whatever. McKee knows immediately he's throwing the slant to Dotson, one-on-one, outside the numbers. You've got your best receiver of the day out there. But post-snap, look at him just ever so slightly look off the linebacker in the middle. If you hit run now, it's ever so slight. He stares in for half a second, and I think the linebacker then drops and looks the other way. And in the end, Dotson's just completely wide open. And it's really quick. You have to see it really quickly here. It's only half a second, but you can already see the linebacker has turned to the right, and it wasn't the only time he looked off somebody. I'll show you another example of McKee pre-snap knowing where he's going to go, and then basically using post-snap to confirm it. This one's actually got a little bit of disguise, but it's still very basic. It is number 8 on my film thread, Shane. I'm not going to talk about the route too much because I'm going to get to Darius Cooper later on. So there actually is a little bit of disguise here. However, I don't really care if they're playing split safety or single high. I think the way the cornerbacks lined up, how wide Cooper is, I think this go ball was always on in the red zone anyway. The odds of that safety getting out there is nearly impossible. But pause it just now. And it's only very minor, but once again, McKee has made up his mind. He's not reading anything here. I saw someone on Twitter actually say he got back to his fourth read, and I'm he didn't. He's not reading 1, 2, 3, 4 here. He's going to the go ball. All he's doing here is he's simply holding the post safety. He knows where he's going, and then he delivers a really, really good ball. And both of them are very simple throws, but I like them because they tell you a little bit about pre-snap. He's thinking about where he's going, even though there's a tiny bit of coverage rotation from 2 high to single high. He doesn't seem fazed by it because he trusts where he's going with the football. And I think in general, McKee's really, really clean. His process is really clean every time we've seen him. However, I will give a big caveat. I'm saying that some of the Bengals defense in this game was incredibly easy to read. I didn't include, he had an out on the first play of the game, his first throw of the game, and it was just so obviously a deep out versus a cover 4 corner who's 10 yards off. And it's very, very easy to read. So I would just mention that sometimes I think one of the things you've got to be careful about preseason is that it can be quite easy to read rotation. I think defenses can be quite vanilla. I'll show you one more just to give you an example of what I mean about preseason being simple. If you go to clip 3 and look at this pre-snap, this is just a go ball to Jonny Wilson. Now, technically pre-snap, this is split safety coverage, but if you actually look at how the Eagles are lined up here, I think it's pretty easy once you read the safeties that this is going to end up single high. The simple reason being that they've got two guys clearly lined up one-on-one over the receiver, but there's no one over the tight end. So basically, I feel like it's a pretty... There's not much coverage disguised here. I think it's pretty obvious that safety's going to have to come downhill for the simple fact that there is no one covering the tight end if he releases. If you watch, basically the tight end's free. So once again, there's nothing complicated here. It's not taking anything away from McKee. I just think sometimes in preseason, it's quite easy out there. And I think McKee's really smart. And I think if you're really smart, you'll find preseason pretty easy from a pre-snap point of view. Like, I don't think he was particularly challenged mentally in this game. If Jalen Hurts does that, we moan that he's not reading the field. He's just throwing to his first guy. The only negatives I'd say on McKee, I think there are a few things to mention, and we want to try and analyse and not just say he's amazing. When he played against the Giants, he had a terrible throw into coverage, and he should have been picked off on the flat, and he had the exact same this week. This was play 6. And I'll just finish here before, I won't go into too much on McKee, but I think it's a little bit about him as a player, where when you are essentially an immobile quarterback who can't extend the play very much. And McKee's not like 20 years ago Brady and Manning coming out. Like, no one's like that anymore. Even your immobile quarterbacks can run. So he can easily move. He can throw on the move. But there's a difference between throwing on the move and actually evading someone. So I don't actually know what he's doing here because he should throw it straight to the flat. But let's assume that he can't throw that to the flat for any imaginary reason. What you'll see a lot of the top guys do is just create. They're one-on-one with an edge defender. They'll cut inside, they'll run outside, they'll keep running. But when you are immobile, it lends yourself naturally to throwing more of these tight window throws because you don't have the capability to extend. And I think here, it's not that he feels the pressure, but it's almost like a worry that I can't get away. So he doesn't really read everything. And I'll be honest, I mentioned about tape. If I'm an NFL DC, I've now seen this against the Giants. I've seen it in this game. I think against the Giants, it was like a hole shot and the cornerback sort of drifted off, or he didn't read the cornerback safety anyway. I think you can see maybe he gets a little bit lazy when it's not as easily defined pre-snap. And yeah, it's a pretty rough rep. But again, it's nothing major. I just think until you see him play over a long period of time, these flaws don't always become, shall we say, obvious. And I lied. I'll show one more, Shane, just because I want to show one example of how a mobile quarterback can help with rush lanes as well.
This is for new listeners. This is classic Jonny. He's like, this is going to be a short episode, and we're 20 minutes in on our first points.
I've got nothing much else to say about after players in this game. So play 9. People are going to be like, you hate McKee, you're criticising him. I'm like, no, it's just balance, really. So one thing that being mobile does as well is you basically end up with easier, and it's a bit of a weird thing to say, but if you're not very good from the pocket, sometimes the pockets are easier when you're a mobile quarterback. So sometimes rushers just can't rush Jalen Hurts the same way they'd rush, say, old school Drew Brees. They can't get up the field because they're worried about him escaping. And if you look here, there is a very clear lane. So the Bengals' rush integrity is actually not great here. You basically can't... You can see it very clearly here. Now, I'm not going to go and bore you with design. I don't like the design of this play. I don't blame McKee for this sack, by the way, so I'm not criticising McKee in the slightest. I hate the design. If you read my BGN article, I explain why. It's a classic concept, Shane, where you read a side, then go back to the other side, and by the time he gets back to his second side, it's too late. So I'm not going to bore you. I don't like 2x2s when you're not running mirrored concepts, and the second half is basically too slow to get to your... root concept, so I won't bore you with all that stuff as Twitter decides to be annoying. I literally just want to talk about the fact that if you're not a mobile quarterback, if you pause it now, if you're basically, what I'm trying to say is Cincinnati doesn't have to worry about gap integrity when they're rushing you. They can pretty much get after you, and this is actually a very good rush. But even in this very successful rush, if you just play half a second, Shane, Jalen Hurts is taking that and running. You can't even basically play single high man coverage without anyone watching Jalen Hurts, because this could be a touchdown with Hurts, and I'm not kidding. If these two were blocked, it's not impossible we could make a safety miss. And yeah, Jarrett Cobbing, Hinton's way late. I mean, Hinton ends up on his backside, and was not very good. But it's just a point about when you see a quarterback for longer, flaws come out that you don't see. And I think it's why, and it's the Jaden Daniels thing, it's the CJ Stroud thing. Playing quarterback is a year-on-year game because defensive coaches are not stupid. I'm not saying trade McKee for a first or second if someone offered it, by the way. I'm just making the point that until you see guys with real snaps consistently week on week, sometimes these flaws that you're not expecting can come out of nowhere. But overall, it was a very good game. I just feel like maybe we haven't spoke too much this week in the public eye about some of the, not issues even, but some of the things to work on. So I wanted to bring a bit of balance and mention some of that stuff. However, I've seen your second concept is on Crash.
Yes.
And I know McKee threw like one of the best throws on Crash you'll see. So despite me picking holes in him, do you want to show his absolute dime along the sideline? Because I'm guessing that's going to be your second point.
Yeah, and I'm going to show that, and I'm also going to show the worst decision he made in the game, which wasn't the almost interception, too. So both on the same concept. But before I do that, Yakko chiming in, McKee has only faced preseason defenses, the 2024 Giants and then the 2025 Bengals without Trey Hendrickson. So only preseason quality defenses, which is fair and worth shouting out. So
yeah, it's just like when he's gone up against Spags in the regular season and Spags has game planned for him, then you learn more. It's not a knock on McKee, it's a knock on how we evaluate players and how we evaluate quarterbacks. Until I see that, I don't know how he's going to handle it because we've not seen it. That's all it is.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, since it's preseason, I thought we'd go with a staple for the Eagles. People that have followed us for any length of time will have heard me talk about Crash before because the Eagles love this concept. But I've drawn it up on the screen. It comes from a 2x2 formation. You've got an in-breaking route from the outside receiver, a shallow in-breaking route, and then a deeper. It's not truly a corner. It's kind of like a rounded corner / out route from your inside receiver. And the Eagles love to run this. They love to put A.J. Brown on the outside and trust him to win on this in route, and they put Dallas Goedert in the slot, and they trust him to win on this out route. And so you read this in to out because it's short breaking to out breaking, and Tanner McKee plays this perfectly. And so when I roll the tape here, you'll see the in route is not really open, but as soon as this safety bails out and we've got inside leverage from the linebacker, you're going to be able to drop this over to the sideline, and I think it's Kylan Granson makes a really nice throw on the sideline and picks up a first down. So I'll just run it again.
Shane, just also it's played horrendously by the corner out there.
Yeah.
Because it looks like they're in a sort of cover two, and you just pass this off to the linebacker. You can't get beat.
Right.
Like that, but that's preseason as well.
Yeah. So nice little throw there. We'll watch it one more time. Drops a dime in on the sideline. That's nice. Now let's go to the last play that Tanner McKee is on the field in the game. This is a 3rd and goal. And, Johnny, you probably know this play, but I haven't seen you talk about this play on Twitter at all. So if you were looking at this pre-snap, particularly the bottom of the screen, let's just ignore all of this. What does this look like to you?
In what sense, Shane? I know the play you're talking about, obviously, but in what sense?
If you're trying to think what might the defense be doing, looking at the bottom of the screen here, does anything jump out at you?
I actually can't remember what they do, but I'm guessing corner blitz. He looks like his eyes are inside, but it might not be.
Yep.
Yeah. As I said, corners don't lie.
Yeah.
Safeties lie, corners don't.
Yeah, so I look at this right away. Eyes inside. You've got a safety walked down kind of over the slot corner. So I'm thinking, if I'm McKee, I'm already thinking corner blitz. And so if we get the corner blitz, so just pretend this guy's not here. Again, we have the in route and we've got this out route. And so both of these should technically be open. You're going to have an in route with no inside help, unless they bail off an edge, but it'd be weird to blitz a corner and bail the edge on the same side. And you've got an out route against inside leverage from a safety. So both of these should win. But you want to throw the one that wins first, which is the in route. You should read this in route to out route. And if I roll the tape here, you see they do blitz. This route's wide open. This is a walk-in touchdown for Darius Cooper. And McKee has jumped straight to this out-breaking route. And that's just the wrong decision. It's not how you should read that out. He misses that. It costs him a touchdown. I do think it's worth pointing out, and people were kind of bullish on Aniyah Smith after this game because he had a touchdown and he had the big punt return. I think it's worth pointing out he almost dropped the punt return before he had a big one, and the touchdown is the easiest walk-in. You could do that in flag football touchdown ever. But I look at this one. You are a slot receiver running a route, an out-breaking route against a safety. That's already an advantage. Who is playing with extreme inside leverage. Like, Anaya Smith should win this route easily, and he doesn't create any separation at all. So, like, I sort of understand why McKee goes there. He shouldn't, because you just take the in route first. You read it in to out, and he doesn't do that. So I thought that was a negative play from McKee. Unfortunately, it's the last one of the night because they kick a field goal the next play, and then DTR came in. But that was some more thoughts on McKee, and I did want to show that one because I thought this was the biggest miss of the game for him. Could have been a touchdown.
Yep. And again, we're not saying it was a bad game, just picking plays out there because some of the reaction this week has been quite funny. But it's the way it is. And it's funny enough, it's not even been from Philadelphia. It's been national outright. It's been national coverage as well. Again, it's nothing against McKee at all. We could have thrown like 50 out of 50 in this game for 500 yards and 4 touchdowns. I'd still say, let me see you do it versus Brian Flores week 12. Let me see you do it versus Spags in a conference game. It's the way I view sports, is that you never know really until you see it. Right, I'll get to the most interesting thing in the game, I reckon, which was the wide receiver position. So I'm going to talk about two, and I couldn't decide what one to talk about, so I'll do them both. I'll start with Jonny Wilson. I wrote about Jonny Wilson recently for BGN, criticised him quite a lot, said basically, post-draft, I said there are two things he doesn't do. One is separate, two is win contested catches, and if you can't do those two things, or either of those two things, you won't succeed in the league. Basically, last year, he didn't do either of those two things, but in this game, he did one of them. I didn't see a great deal of separation, but he did win in contested situations. So let's start with just a couple of his. I've already shown the McKee deep ball to him, actually, so I'll skip that one because we mentioned that already. I'll show the slot fade, which I've decided to quit my Twitter thread, Shane, because I'm an idiot. But I believe the slot fade is number 11 as I bring mine up because I tweeted it in the wrong order, which is even better for you. So clip 11, yes, it's a classic slot fade. And by the way, not to harp on the previous point, this is another one of the easiest examples of pre-snap reading of all time. Like, this is basically taking candy from a baby. This is single high. They're in man coverage, and that means the slot fade is the absolute dream for this. But the other thing I wanted to mention about Jonny Wilson was he played in the slot more this week, and I haven't really thought about Wilson as a big slot before. Maybe Terrace Marshall ends up more as the backup X and Wilson's move around, but you naturally get smaller defenders in the slot. It's not always the way, but it's just the way it is. The ability to have to go both ways lends itself to being 5'11", 5'10" guys, and this is a really interesting one. I think if Wilson is seen as a bit of a jump ball specialist from the slot, Hurts throws this just as well as McKee does here. It's one of Hurts' best throws, the slot fade. So I think Wilson had a good game. I think he had a weird game in that he won 2 ridiculous contested catches. And you're like, is that translatable against starting NFL corners? But also, I don't think he's going to separate very well. He's, 6'6" or whatever. So I'm not expecting him to break ankles on comeback routes. I want to see him actually winning contested situations. So that was cool. Before I talk about Cooper, I want your opinion on this one. Play 12 really quickly. Am I harsh? I think this is the kind of thing that I want a giant receiver to be able to handle. And it's a crap throw by DTR. It's behind his body. But when I paused it, and I kept pausing it, being like, am I harsh because I've got an agenda? But I'm like, I think it's there, and it's behind him, and it is behind him. But sort of half the benefit of being 6'6" is that you've got a giant catch radius, and you can bail out slightly errant throws. And I just felt like it wasn't ideal. It's a shame, because I think he was perfect except for that. So yeah, am I harsh? Am I not harsh?
No, I thought the broadcast was crazy for talking as poorly about DTR for that. I mean, it's hot, it's high and behind and hotter than it needs to be, but at the end of the day, he doesn't even break stride that much. He just twists his body back, and it's right on his face mask. So both hands on it, that should have been a catch, in my opinion.
DTR, the craziest quarterback ever, who has no juice down the field, but the fastest short throw I've ever seen in the world all the time. And by the way, the Eagles are running Crash here again. I'm telling you, if you want to impress mates down a pub, just learn Crash, even if you're a very casual fan, because the Eagles run it like 50 times a game. Right, now I'm going to talk about Darius Cooper. I was very lazy, Shane. I didn't do a great deal of analysis this year on the UDFAs because becoming a dad ruined that amount of time I had in that time of my life. And now I'm gutted because I didn't scout him before, so I haven't got a cool tweet that I had that I can reference and be like, I told you. because I never watched him. So first time watching him, and I was really impressed. He looked bigger to me than I expected. I think he looked like, I tested like 5'11", but he looked bigger. I guess the thing that was cool was there was just a number of different releases that he had and a number of different ways that he won. So he won sort of down the field, he won vertical stems, he ran horizontal stems, he ran on mesh concepts, he won quick slants. I'm not going to show all of his plays, and if you want to watch all of his plays, Eagles Eric did a great thread where he just posted in one particular play all of his plays. I'm not going to bore you and go through all of them. I just want to show you the one that really, really impressed me, and it was play 8, which I've already mentioned already, but I want to talk to you a little bit about the nuances of running a route. So this is a really nice release, which we've seen quite a lot from Cooper in this game. He wins, but if you pause it sort of now, I would say the cornerback's feeling all right about this. I wrote a whole article about 8 years ago, probably about that, on Nelson Aguilar, and basically said his biggest problem is that he doesn't use his hands at all. So in shorts and a t-shirt, he looks unbelievable running routes because he cuts on a dime, he can run it out, and in the end he ended up having a decent career, I guess. But he never used his hands, which is why he couldn't win on the outside. Just watch what Cooper does here. There's like the slightest little push-off, and he does this first, he gets his arm off in there, and now this is the one here. It's so subtle, but extend and then catch. And AJ Brown does that as good as anyone, and that's the benefit of having a great receiver in the room. I would not be surprised at all if he comes out and says, like, I've been watching how AJ Brown does it. But there are two really good hand movements. The second one is this one here, to push him off. And the cornerback doesn't even moan to the ref. This never gets called. That's never getting called for pass interference. But the first one is equally as good. The first little hand movement is here, and you can really see it as you slow it down. He pushes his right arm away from him there. That knocks him off balance, and then he pushes him away. And that's really nuanced. Like, it's hard to say if he's going to be any good or not because it's 1 week. But I don't just want to see a guy like running a go route and catching a ball down the field and being like, oh yeah, he's fast or he can do this really well. That to me showed like craft. That was really impressive. So I don't know how he's going to be. I don't know if he's going to be good enough. I've watched him for one game in his entire career. But people have said he's been quite good at training camp. He looked good in this game in general with his variety of releases. But yeah, you've done a good job slowing it down there. In half speed, it clearly looks like PI. But full speed, it's not. And it's really, really subtle. So that was cool. And maybe that's a sign that he works really hard off the field and he's learning from those above him. So that I've definitely got an eye on him after that one.
Yeah, got a comment here from J-Rock saying, really impressive single game, but yeah, I want to see more. And absolutely, want to see it. Just like with quarterbacks overtime, but I was really impressed with Darius Cooper as well.
Yeah.
So
should we talk running back, Shane? Because I think we've both got one of our points on... you take one, I'll take one, I guess.
All right. Well, I got A.J. Dillon, and I thought A.J. Dillon was really good in this game. He looked healthy. He looked to me like he should be the running back too. Will Shipley long run notwithstanding, where, let me whisper this into the microphone so nobody gets upset. Will Shipley didn't do anything on that play except not win a one-on-one with a safety. And I'm not a Will Shipley hater. I just think Will Shipley will give you exactly what is blocked for him and nothing more. And I thought A.J. Dillon created really well in this game. So I've got 3 plays here. The first one's going to be, I think this is outside zone to the right, if I'm remembering correctly. Let's see the snap here. Yeah, yes. And he sticks that foot in the ground and gets back upfield. And so that's nice. You're reading outside in here, and I think he just sees that we've got a guy on the edge. We were filling down, and he's got pretty good vision here. He's going to do a good job getting backside and explodes up the middle. And for a guy that's as big as he is, that's not something you necessarily expect him to be able to do very well. And so I thought that was a good run. It's not his best run of the day, but it was one
just
that
boring
impressed
one,
me.
Shane, as well. Watch 95's helmet. Always read the hat or whatever they say. But whenever they peek outside, you cut inside, basic outside zone. And it's really cool because you can see 95 actually tries to confuse him. So 95 tries to look inside, but there's only so long you can do that on outside zone. Eventually he has to look outside, and Dillon reads it perfectly, which is cool. And
then this one's not even a run. This is a pass play, but he's a better receiver than you would think. This is 3rd and 20. The Eagles run 4 verticals, whatever. But McKee gets to Dillon really quickly on the check down, and they're comfortable throwing to him. And he puts his helmet down and he goes and gets a few more yards. And so that's a valuable skill to have as a backup running back, is just the ability to be active in the pass game. And so that checks a box. That's not impressive necessarily, but it checks a box for him as a receiver out of the backfield. But then this is the impressive run, and they talked about this one on the broadcast, but you're going to get the guard and the tight end pulling across the formation, and this is another one where he is going to cut this back inside. And just watch his cut here. Foot's in the ground. 64 is beat terribly, and he's just able to get outside and turn that into not just a little bit of a positive play, a really positive play. And so I'll slow that one down to half speed so you can watch it again as well. But I feel a lot better about running back 2 now than I did going into this game, and it doesn't have anything to do with Will Shipley. I thought A.J. Dillon played really well.
Yeah, Grundon, you've left me with a fun job of criticising Shipley, and Shipley was fine. But I'm like you. I've called him a jag since I drafted him. I've never been particularly high on him. I think he's fine. He'll do, as you said, what is blocked. He can pass protect just about. He can catch out the backfield. To me, he's just a jag at everything at this stage of his career. Dillon is clearly more talented if healthy, and I think he showed that yesterday. You mentioned it, but let's show the big run, Shane. Let's just show the Will Shipley big run. I think it's play 2 on my film thread. And I'll just mention as well that he had 3 runs on the goal line back to back to back where he got absolutely nothing. And it's just simple outside zone. As you mentioned, Shane, he does nothing here. This is not like Dillon where he has something to read. I could run that. Cool to see Dotson downfield. I mean, yeah, the Eagles' offensive line, man.
Lane Johnson could run through that hole.
Yeah, Drew Kendall was good, I thought, of all the rookie offensive line. He was the best one. Steen was great on this play, as was Pryor at right tackle, by the way. Here you've basically got the dream if you play Madden or if you're a running back, which is you've got true one-on-one. There is no one else around, basically. You can run into him, you can run over him, you can run inside. And it's not just that he doesn't win, because I've already mentioned, you can't base everything on results. It's more of just that there's no real juice. Basically, he doesn't actually try and move for a start. He just sort of tries to get him to come down centrally and then thinks, I'll run past him. But it's more of a plan. It's just very basic. It's almost like, oh my God, I'm in the open field. Where do I go now? And I'm not saying he has to take 10 jukes and a spin, but you could probably try and do something a little bit extra, and there's not a lot of explosiveness there. And I've mentioned before the reason why I'm not a big Shipley guy, and it's just personal preference. It's not how I see my running backs. I always like explosive backs, big play backs. I always have. I sort of fall into 2 camps of slow, heavy grinders like Jordan Howard, or big explosive guys, and basically he's neither of them to me. As I said, he's just a bit of a jag, which is fine. He has his role, but I wouldn't have come out of this game thinking that he looks like he's going to handle the ball more than A.J. Dillon. So it'd be interesting to see that throughout the rest of preseason. And again, it's one play. Dillon's not outrunning with safety either here. He might run through him. And we've been spoiled by Barkley turning these into touchdowns all the time. But I'd just like to see more of an effort. Yako saying that they both look slow. Yeah, I think he does. So does Anai Smith, yeah. If you watch here, this is the moment here, Shane, from now when you play it. There's just not a lot of speed, is there?
No.
That's quite hard going. That's quite tough yardage. So, again, it's not an indictment of his whole career. It's not an indictment of him as a player. It's just worth sort of pointing out.
Matt Pryor's been watching the Lane Johnson film here, signaling first down during the play. Love that.
Yeah, I think he apparently ran a 4.39 as well.
Who?
At his pro day. Will Shipley.
I don't believe
But it was
that.
a pro day. So, it didn't look 4.39, but yeah.
No.
Apparently that would have been one of the fastest backs based on the combine. And there we go.
What did he run at the combine? It wasn't nearly that. Oh, no, he didn't run at the combine.
No, exactly, as no one does these days, do they?
Yeah, if you don't run at the combine, I don't care what you run at your pro day. I think it's a lie.
Yeah, I think I'm heading towards that as well. That guy's not 4.39. Let's move over, Shane. Let's whack on for the defenses. We've already taken longer than I said we would. So
here, let me put on my shocked face.
Yeah, shock horror. Should we start? And again, defense. The defense really is quicker than offense this week because there's no quarterback to talk about.
Let me start on defense because I want to point out something that's overarching.
Okay, who are you going for?
Nobody. I just want to talk about passivity because
we love this word, don't we?
Yeah.
Here for the Jonathan Gannon days, baby.
And I'm going to show one clip here, but this overarches the whole game, so just keep it in mind as we look at other clips. But this isn't real defense. Like, the Eagles are running a cover one blitz right here. So we've got nobody in the middle of the field except a post safety. And just like, you can get away with playing man coverage from this far off with outside leverage if you've got guys dropping into the middle of the field. There is a 0% chance this ever works. So, I mean, we can watch it, and we can also, I mean, just how is Keely Ringo supposed to defend a slant route like this? There's absolutely no chance. There's no chance whatsoever. And so the Eagles did this early in the year last year, and in the regular season too, we talked about it, how passive and how much cushion they were giving. And so as we evaluate other cornerbacks and we talk about other things, I just want to layer over that preseason isn't real, and the Eagles will not play defense like this during the regular season. So I think that's an important place to start, just as we look at some of the other things.
Yeah, that's the Eagles are not having Sidney Brown covering from the slotted man coverage like that in the season, are they? Right, I'll get into my first point. I'm looking at what one I should do first. If you do Mondon next, let's do linebacker. So I'm not going to talk about Jahar Campbell because we barely saw him. To be honest, I don't have a great deal to say about the defense except for Gabe Hall, and even that was limited. Play 8 on my film thread, Shane, is just an example to talk about Jeremiah Trotter Jr. Just think he's good. I think he was good in basically last year, was good in college, was good in preseason last year, was good when he played last year. And you can't fake instincts. You can't fake like intelligence. And watch how quickly he reads this. Like, just focus on 54. I think this is the one with a pulling guard. This is the play I've highlighted. Yes, there's a puller, and he just reads it instantly. Like, the second he sees the pull, he knows what he's doing, even though he's probably not studying the Bengals offense. There's just a natural instinct to his game. It's like he's played the position for a long, long time, and he's not the biggest, he's not the quickest, he's not the strongest, he's not a first-round pick. He probably may never be a full-time starter, but I absolutely would love to have him on my team, because if there's an injury, if he has to play, you aren't going to really miss a huge amount. No, he can't blitz like a lot of modern linebackers can. He's not going to be like Campbell or Ball and can line up at edge. So I'm not saying he should start. I'm not saying that the Eagles should start playing base this year and have him. And yeah, Jarrett commented saying it is a shame he's not bigger or faster, because if he was, he'd be a first-round pick. Like, he's so much better instinctively than guys like Edgerrin Cooper, who have come out in the first and second rounds the last few years. Like, he's so much better on as a linebacker. It's just he's athletically limited. And when I wrote him up last year, I basically said exactly that. I said some teams just simply wouldn't have him on their board, which is why everyone was wondering why did he fall. That's why he fell. But I just think that's wrong. I think he's always better than a round 5 player. I think if he has to play this year, he'll be fine. So I deliberately mentioned him because you're going to talk about a guy now who is far more explosive and far more athletically pleasing on the eye. And in training camp, I'm sure he looked better and stood out more. But shout out the Patreon Discord. I remember when people were talking about Mondon, I commented saying, I really like him. I had a 3rd round grade on him. But he's going to look unbelievably good in shorts and a t-shirt. When you're out there on the game and you're getting hit, Trotter's the guy I want in the trenches for now. So talk about some of the issues from the Eagles' other linebacker in this game, Mondon.
Yeah, Mondon was one of the worst players on the field in the preseason game. And he's a guy I like too, had a 3rd round grade on. He's just going to struggle because of his size and his physicality. And so I circled him here. I won't go real in depth on any of these, but here he's going to miss a tackle to the sideline. I mean, if he makes this tackle, it's like a no gain, and it ends up almost being a touchdown. And so you got to be able to break down and make that tackle. On this one, like, it's a missed tackle that turns into a touchdown, but there's maybe a bit of like Mac McWilliams comes from the opposite angle and they both kind of hit the guy at the same time and bounce him off of each other. So, like, maybe I'm willing to give you that one, but it's just an overarching thing that the tackling's been a problem. On this play, Johnny, I'm actually curious to get your thought here. Whose fault is this run play? Because we get the snap here. Now, I think Josh Uche does a good job of, like, hitting this kick-out block, but then he doesn't shed inside, and it turns into a run play.
Note.
So
someone's wrong. With that being in the room, who the hell knows? It's
so I see a lot of possibilities because Munden fills the middle, which I would assume is Campbell's responsibility, but Campbell is so slow, and so Munden goes there. Or maybe they're both supposed to go there, and the safety is supposed to get... Regardless, this gap isn't covered, and I don't know whose fault it is.
Corner. Yeah, even the nickel. Or is it Uche edge? He's meant to play inside, and the nickel and safety are meant to have the C gap. Yeah, it's one of those plays. It's really hard to know. But yeah, it does seem unusual for him to end up with that gap, whether he got confused by the pre-snap shift, potentially.
Yeah, and it looks like right there, it kind of looks, I mean, he's trying to get back outside, so maybe that's on Munden. That's just overall, it's a defensive breakdown, but this next one is just a bad play by him. So this is 3rd and 17, and that plays into it here. So 3rd and 17, and there's going to be a route up the seam here that he needs to deliver to the safety. And again, 3rd and 17 is critical because watch what he does. He's so concerned about this flat route on 3rd and 17 that he just leaves the seam route.
Yeah,
and by the way, there's somebody else also responsible for that flat route, and there's room to throw this ball. Now, that's not even if he catches that, it's not a first down, but it's field goal range. I mean, like, it's getting you into potential field goal range when it shouldn't be there. So he kind of busts on this one, and it doesn't end up costing the Eagles, but that's a bad situational awareness play. And then the last one I'll show here, I'm pretty sure this is a bad run defense play on him because you see, like, he's responsible to fill this gap, right? Well, now there's a tight end coming in, and you've got a nickel coming from the side, but he's going to attack this shoulder of the tight end, and he makes the safety, or whoever that is, I think it's a safety, Andre Sam, makes him come further to make this play than he has to. So I feel like on this one he should be attacking that the left shoulder and forcing this into his nickel. And you could say like he's trying to force it into Campbell, but there's a double team working up to Campbell. And so you can kind of see, like, if Sam doesn't get to this, if he attacks this angle, this is a wide open lane to run to. So some shoddy run D things going on around Munden, and maybe it's not Munden, but I thought he really struggled. I know for sure as a tackler, he had some lapses in coverage, and I'll just say there was some shoddy run defense around him. And maybe it's not him, but it kind of looks like it might have been on a few plays to me.
Unless I have short-term memory, did you show the touchdown as well when he got shoved into the end zone?
Yeah, that was the second play. I said on that one.
Second play, I was going to say.
I said on that one at least he and Mac McWilliams kind of hit the guy at the same time and kind of bounce him into each other. I mean, you got to get the guy on the ground, but.
The reason why I mentioned that one again is because I think that play is probably. I think instincts you can't. You either have it or you don't to an extent, but I think overall you can develop it if you're really, really quick. But I mentioned very simply, I'm looking at my overall here. I said he's a versatile linebacker, length and range to be a starter, but this is exactly what I said. He needs to refine his processing and physicality against the run. Like, simply put, if you can't process things, you're going to struggle. But secondly, if you're just not physically big enough, there comes a point when the modern day linebackers are great when they get really light, and you're like, oh, you can stick him at edge, you can stick him at wheel, you can stick him out in space, and it's like, oh, it's really cool. The special teams is brilliant, and it doesn't mean they have no value on the roster. But if you want to start for an NFL team at 224 pounds, you've got to be able to hit guys that are bigger than you, and I didn't see in this game he had the ability to. So again, it's not curtains, it's one game, it's the first game as a professional player. But yeah, I think you're right to point out some of the flaws, and it's amazing how linebackers have changed, Shane. 10 years ago, we're saying blow up the tight end, there's no one around you. Like the old school 260-pound linebackers, like, bring on a tight end in the hot, like, I'll rock you. That's not how we play these days. And I happen to think Chase Brown's awesome, but I'm also not sure I want to see my starting linebacker getting blown up by Chase Brown, who's hardly the biggest guy in the world, although he's a pretty powerful back. Right, let's bring it home. We are going to get under an hour. We're going to do it. We have to do for preseason, because if not, the rest of the season's screwed.
Well, I have 18 plays for my last point, so
I'm also not bringing it home because I've done 1 point somehow. Right, I'm going to do both mine, and I'll let you finish with Jackson, because I think he's the more interesting one. One of mine is basically I had nothing else to talk about, and I had a few questions on this. So edge defenders, I have nothing to show you, no film. I saw basically nothing. So Patrick Johnson always has a decent play in preseason. I thought Josh Uche looked okay. I thought Ojulari didn't do much. Someone asked me about him. They just barely played. They had like 5 or 6 attempts to rush the quarterback. The ball was out quickly. So I don't know is the answer. I guess the fact that they played a little bit suggests that they're pretty safe, maybe. The team didn't seem to want to look at them too much. But long story short, people have asked you about edge. I got nothing. Before I move on, did you want to mention any of the edge defenders, or is that good enough for this one?
I think that's good enough. Nothing stuck out to me. Ojulari had a couple of nice plays, I thought, but yeah, nothing really stuck out too much.
There we go. So I'll end mine with a positive note, which was Gabe Hall. So Gabe Hall's a really interesting guy. I wrote about him last year for Bleeding Green, as I do everyone. And when I break down the undrafted free agents, he was one of the ones that when you look at his spider chart, Shane, you're like, oh, 96 percentile height, like 76 percentile vertical jump, 72 percentile 10-yard split, 87 percentile arm length, which was the really interesting one, 92 percentile wingspan. You're like, this is an interesting guy. 6'6", 291, but the wingspan and arm length. 9.12 RAS score, which is very good. Elite explosive grade, Shane. And I was like, oh, okay, how did he go undrafted? And the reason is his college film sucks. Basically. So when I watched him, I said, like, he could easily be a 3 or 5 technique for the Eagles. I said the traits are all there. He's just incredibly inconsistent. I said I don't know if fatigue's a problem. As the game went on, he just got worse and worse. But he is long. And when you're long, explosive, with a great wingspan, like, I want you as a developmental defensive tackle on my team because I can work with that. And he was really good at Senior Bowl. I thought he'd make the roster last year. I said I think he won't make it to the practice squad. And it looks like he's been working because you saw the explosiveness, you saw the arm length, and he looked good. And he was actually up against a starting guard, wasn't he, for the Bengals? Now, he could suck as well because the Bengals O-line is pretty poor. So again, it depends on sort of how you want to judge preseason, but he had 2 reps that were like, oh, okay. I mean, he had more than 2, but 2 that jumped out. Play one on my film thread is the one that everyone's seen by now. Just a really, really good blend of explosiveness, like coordination. Like, I love how you slowed it down. I should do that more on Twitter because it's awesome. But the thing that stands out, Shane, is look at when he beats him. So wait here. Like, look at the size of his wingspan. Like, just pause it for a second when he's trying to hit Burrow. Like, first of all, pause it here for a second. That's helpful of arm length. You can see, and when we talk about why arm length matters, sorry, Shane, just go back, like, when he actually gets off the block. This is why arm length matters, because he is able to basically push whatever 62 away, and 62 just can't get a hand on him because his arms are so long. But for those watching, just look at the size of the guy here. He just looks really long for a defensive tackle. Like, his arms, he just looks like one of those athletes. It's like, he's just bigger than 291. So that was the first play that stood out. And that was a real, like, jump off the screen moment. Like, okay, fair enough, Gabe Hall. And then he had one later on against the run. It was play 3, which I know you tweeted again. And this was a really, really good run fit by the Eagles, actually. But again, just look at the quickness. The fake step inside, burst outside, and still quick enough to get to the ball. I think he gets held a little bit, but yeah, he had a few snaps where you were just like, oh, okay, he is someone to look out for. I don't think it's a coincidence that the Eagles did this at the same time they traded, what's he called, to the Raiders, Booker or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a coincidence because you look at their defense, obviously a Jomo, Davis, Carter are making the team, Ty Robinson's making the team. That 5th one is there for him. I think Gabe Hall is going to be that 5th defensive tackle, and I think if he is, I think he's going to play. Because I don't think they're suddenly going to give Ty Robinson loads of snaps. Davis has always been on a snap count. So I think the way the Eagles rotate, I think you'll see him. And he's the guy that I'm looking forward to watching on defense more than anyone else. For the next couple of weeks.
Can I interest you in Gabe Hall, edge rusher?
Yeah, I mean, there's more. I mean, I said I said in my notes he could be a 5 technique. He's that long. Like, he's a weird build. Like, yeah, I know. But you don't see a lot of that from a UDFA defensive tackle, do you?
No,
he's got
you
juice. He's got real juice.
Yep. All right. Well, let's talk about a guy that...
Bring us home, Shane.
Let's talk about a guy that doesn't have juice. And that's Adoree Jackson. So, which is sad because I was pretty excited about the Adoree Jackson signing, and I walked away from this game, and I know it was a rough game for Keely Ringo, and we need to see Jacorian Bennett, but Adoree Jackson, I almost just think he can't be your starting CB2. So I've got 3 plays I want to show. The first one is the least egregious because he's at the bottom of the screen here, number 8. He is playing outside leverage. This is cover 1 man. He's expecting, I think this is Tristan McCollum to drop into the hole, and I have no idea where Tristan McCollum is going on this play, but he doesn't drop into the hole. So it does make it rough when you're expecting inside help and you're playing off coverage with that kind of outside leverage and they run a crossing route. And even when McCollum, I'm pretty sure that was McCollum. I see a 3. I can't see the other number. Even when he realizes, like right here, he looks at the receiver and then he just stops and doesn't chase him. Like it's clearly the guy you should be helping on. So Jackson needs to do better regardless, but that's really poor safety play, and it ends up being an incompletion. But that one was bad. This one I think is the worst. This is the second worst, but this is the 3rd down on the first drive, and like your backups are about to make the Bengals go 3 and out, their starters, which would have been hilarious. But it's 3rd and 5. So first of all, we're playing 3rd and 5, 8 yards off the line of scrimmage. And again, we're passive. We talked about that. And maybe Jonny just disappeared. We'll keep going. Maybe, this is just being what you're told to do. But if you watch his body language, even though he's so far off, he cannot wait. Look at all those shuffles backwards. He cannot wait to get out of there and bail. And it makes it... Oh, here Jonny is back.
Good old new system.
Jonny, can you hear me?
I'm here. It just decided to boot me out. Good fun.
All right, good stuff.
So
Johnny's back.
Was annoyed at your Adoree Jackson hate. It felt you were going too harsh.
Yeah, maybe so. So here we go. I'll reset the stage so Jonny can hear this one because I'm interested on your thoughts too. But 3rd and 5, we're playing 8 yards off. Too passive. Maybe we're being coached that way. But when I click play, watch his body language. He cannot wait, even though he's 8 yards off, to bail out of there and run downfield. So I don't know if he just doesn't trust his long speed, but that's like taking candy from a baby.
He didn't last year. I'm telling you. And by the way, I quite like the Giants film that I watched, but I wrote about it. I very clearly said he's too conservative. I think when you get older, you lose that trust in your speed down the field, and that leads to a lot of plays like this.
Yeah. And then this one, this is just bad. You've got a middle field safety, and if you're at boundary cornerback with a middle field safety, where can you never get beat? It's outside. You can't get beat to the sideline. There's nothing there.
Outside leverage, yep.
And so he's outside leverage, but just a little jab inside by the way, a backup receiver sends him flying.
Yeah.
And he's got help to the inside. He interferes, doesn't get flagged for it, and the guy's still open, and that converts, I think it was like a 2nd and 17 or something like that.
His technique's really odd on that play as well. Like, he just gets himself really square. He almost ends up he doesn't really retreat very much. He ends up just sort of standing next to the guy. It's quite a strange... Like, he's not always moving. It looks to me like his feet sort of stop. He gets, sort of stuck here. Yeah. He's just a bit... Yeah, his footwork break is a bit all over the place.
Yeah, so there it is on Adoree Jackson. I'm pretty convinced after week 1 of the preseason that Adoree Jackson can't be your CB2. It's got to be Ringo or Bennett.
Yeah, that's harsh. I will say. By the way, we haven't even touched about Ringo this week because I feel like everyone spoke about Ringo, so I couldn't be bothered to mention that Fangio never blitzes and it was Jamar Chase, so everyone chill a little bit on Ringo. But I didn't think Ringo looked great either. So maybe Bennett can do it, but he also can't tackle Shane. So that's something for another day. So CB2 I'm probably more worried about than maybe others. I don't know. Maybe a chat for a mailbag or a Patreon show. I think CB2 and safety are legitimate concerns. I think, Adoree Jackson didn't look good. I will just say I think these vets, sometimes in preseason, they're better. than you think. In the regular season, they're better. Like, I think he knows what he's doing. I don't think he'll be a disaster. Like, if he plays, I think he'll be okay. But whether okay is good enough for what the Eagles want, especially in Fangio's defense, that remains to be seen.
Yeah, we spoke about it a little bit on the post-game show, but I do think Ringo would look better. I mean, to be fair, Jackson would look better in a regular season setting when you have Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell on another side of the field, and you can kind of push coverage, and you've got your starting pass rush. Like, it all helps. And, you know, it also just helps not to be facing Jamar Chase. But the touchdown that Ringo gave up was really bad. Outside of that, I thought he was okay. He gave up the one back shoulder ball on the sideline, and he's always struggled with his back to the ball. But not to add a whole bonus point about Kelee Ringo. But it was concerning, but I was way more out on Adoree Jackson after watching the film than I was on Ringo.
Yeah, we probably should have done the whole post or a whole thing on CB, but I felt like the Ringo talk had been done to death this week. Whereas I think Jackson maybe got away with it a little bit more. So there we have it. First preseason one in the books. This will probably be the best one, Christ, because I don't know who the Eagles are going to play in the next 2 weeks. I hope we have some interesting players to watch. We were talking off air. Please keep playing McKee for a little bit. I hope that we don't just see nobody of any interest the next couple of weeks. But there's always players to watch, isn't there? But I must admit, even the second half of this game was tough on defense.
Yeah.
So there we have it.
Yep. Well, there you have it, folks. Our first preseason film review. We will have some sort of film review for the next 2 games. It'll just kind of depend on the quality and who the Eagles put out there. We may not do the 3 points. We may break that structure a little bit, but we'll be ramped back up when the regular season hits. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you guys have feedback, either about our new platform, which makes things work a little differently, or maybe you're a new viewer and have some feedback about how the show is structured, please be sure to share that with us. We want to dive deep into the film, but we don't want to lose anybody. Anybody that wants to track along, we want you guys to be able to pick this stuff up. So we don't ever want to use jargon for jargon's sake or talk over your head. So be sure and let us know if you got lost. We'd love to help you out. Also, if you're not in our Patreon, please think about joining that. We have a $3 and a $5 a month tier, and you can hop in a Discord and chat with us throughout the day, and there's various other perks, including my All-22 pass game review. I broke down 18 of Tanner McKee's plays this week. I will do that weekly during the regular season. I'm probably not doing that for DTR if he's the starter in week 2, but we'll have stuff like that coming out as well. So, Jonny, before we get out of here, do you have any final thoughts?
Nope. It's good to be back. Looking forward to the season, and there'll be tons of stuff this year. As I said, third year doing it, so we're sort of hopefully getting out the teething problems now, and we know what we like doing and we know what we don't like doing, and we'll focus on the stuff that we like doing that's popular. But the Patreon is awesome. Shane's All-22 review is really good because it gets into more detail than we can do on a single podcast show. So there you go.
Great comment here from Krabby. He says, great show, great comments, and then he said, I'm always lost.
Love it.
Love it. Maybe you won't be. Maybe you will be less and less as the season goes along. J-Rock chiming in saying, fun show. Thanks, guys. Thank you, everybody, for joining. We truly appreciate it. Make sure you are subscribed to the Eagles Pinpole Network. Lots of great content and shows coming your way. Birds of the Round Table will be tonight, doing some linebacker rankings and recapping the preseason game. So check that out. Check out all our other great shows, and we will catch you guys next time.